Hi, everyone. My name is Emma Laura, and I am part of the SYNC committee. I work at Ernst & Young as on the campus recruiting team, and here with me today is Iris Bush, the CEO of the Flying Pig. How are you doing today?
I'm great. It's a beautiful day.
It is a beautiful day, and we are here for you over the next 30 or so minutes to talk to Iris and ask her some questions about herself, but also the Flying Pig. If you guys have heard of it, we'll get some details. So my first question for you, Iris, is to introduce yourself. How long have you been in Cincinnati? And if you're from Cincinnati, what high school did you go to?
Well, I am a native Cincinnatian, born and raised. I attended Marion High School. It is now Purcell Marion High School, and attended the University of Cincinnati. So very, very local. As I said, have been in town my whole life. And for most of my career, this is kind of my second act. For most of my career, I was in broadcast sales. So in 1997, heard that somebody was trying to bring a marathon to Cincinnati, and I was excited. I'd run a few myself, so personally I thought it would be great to have a hometown marathon, knew it would be good for our city, and wanted our station to get involved. So I contacted Bob Coughlin. Bob owns a company called Paycor. He's the founder of the Flying Pig. After a few meetings, he asked me to be on the board. I recognized even back then what he really wanted was the TV station, but that's okay. It often comes to pass that way. So I actually joined the Flying Pig board in August of 1997, have been involved all through the years ever since. But I became the executive director of the Flying Pig in 2002. The event had actually debuted in 1999. It really started with a huge success. We were hoping for 3,000 and had over 6,600. It's developed a very good reputation through the years. And here we are prior to 2020, which is different for all of us. We were attracting about 40,000 people to our lineup of events. We actually celebrated, this would have been our 22nd running. We hope to do so in October. But that's kind of a fast forward to where we are now. So I'll stop and see if you have other questions.
No, that is awesome. So what part of Cincinnati is closest to your heart? Basically, what's your favorite place in the city to go to?
Oh, wow. Oh, Emma, I'm going to sound so mercurial. And I grew up in the East End. I grew up down on Eastern Avenue, not even the part that's Riverside Drive now. But so that was my home. I've always lived on the East Side, lived in a few different neighborhoods. I've always had a kind of a love with Mount Adams. It's just so picturesque, and the views from up there. Never lived there, actually. So I would say there's another family tradition. My mother took me when I was 11 years old to climb the steps on Good Friday. And we don't have to count how many times I've done it, but I've only missed about 4 times in my life. It's now the whole family. We do it together. And so there just is something about Mount Adams that I would say has a bit of an emotional tug. I love OTR. I have fun at the banks. I just would be hard pressed to say, and I think the West Side is fascinating. I just never lived over there, but Mount Adams probably has some emotional pull that I can only tie to going up there and having a great, and the Blind Lemon. Every freshman class that you see thinks they found this wonderful, funky kind of bohemian little bar. And it's been there since I was in college.
Oh my gosh, I've been there too. It's awesome. What a great
I love it.
spot. So what advice do you have for those interested in pursuing a career like yours, either both in your, broadcasting part and now working with the Flying Pig, specifically in your industry too?
Well, Emma, it's funny with both professions. I would say few people go to college to become a salesperson. Not many people aspire to be a salesperson. In fact, there was for a long time, and maybe it still exists, this kind of whispering that, you know, if you couldn't do anything else, you became a salesperson. I worked at EY when I was in my 20s. I actually was the in-charge bookkeeper, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. When I attended UC, I was on the pay-as-you-go program. To be very candid, it took me through most of my 20s, but I graduated with no student loans, nothing like that. I just paid as I went. 2 years full-time, and then I started going to night school and worked at EY during the day. A wonderful experience. You may have heard of Ted Emmerich. Ted Emmerich was the managing partner at the time. So that was a wonderful experience. But to be, again, transparent, I didn't want to be an accountant, and I didn't want to be a bookkeeper the rest of my life. Got my degree in marketing, and had grown up in very humble circumstance. And again, I keep using the phrase, I'll just tell it like it is, but I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I had started in education because a lot of young women in that generation, great job to have, and it's still a wonderful, wonderful vocation. But I decided, no, I was doing it because it felt like the right thing to do, but I wasn't sure it was my passion. So I switched to marketing. I loved marketing, but I still wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. So after graduation, I decided I'm just going to try sales. I'm tired of being poor. I'll make some money and figure out what I really want to do with my career. I got a job in radio. I thought, well, what do I want to sell? Gosh, TV sounds exciting. So I interviewed with two TV stations who told me to go away. I had no broadcast experience, no sales experience. So go get some experience and come back and talk to us. I sold radio for a couple of years. Got a job at WCPO. I worked for the Scripps Company, a wonderful company.
Great.
In fact, your company was located in their building for many years.
Yep, we just moved too, so
yeah, I saw your new digs. Pretty nice, pretty good, pretty nice space. Julia Poston is, I consider her a dear friend, and I would also say, I don't mean to be jumping around a lot, but Ernst & Young has been, it was a founding sponsor of the Flying Pig. So I've had the opportunity through the years to maintain my association with your company, which I love. But my entry into sales was really on a lark. TV, radio sales, broadcast, that seemed exciting. So got the job, felt very fortunate to do so. In fact, the man who hired me in radio said kind of what the TV sales manager said. You have no experience, no broadcast, no sales, but you have the nerve to come in here and ask me for a job. I'll hire you. You'll have the nerve to go out and ask people for money.
Great.
So lack of experience worked for me. 2 years in radio, got the job in TV, sold at WCPO for 20 years. I became the local sales manager, the national sales manager, and then the general sales manager. So it was just a wonderful career. Then I mentioned that in 97, I got on the board of the Flying Pig, stayed on the board. And in 2000, actually the end of 99, I moved to Channel 5, worked for the Hearst Company, was also a very, very positive experience. But all that said, we had another little sidebar. Met my husband on the Flying Pig board. So we got married 20 years ago. And so I served on the board. We needed an executive director. I was on the search committee. To be, transparent about it, we needed money. So we were trying to find somebody with a sales background. And at the 11th hour, I decided to put my hat in the ring, was the successful candidate. And again, I've been there now since 2002 on the staff side. So Dave McGilvery is the race director in Boston. For the past almost 20 years now, I've been attending the Running USA conference because, you know, it's kind of the organization of our industry. I started this little dissertation with not many people aspire to become a salesperson. Well, Dave contends nobody set out to become a race director. For many years, it wasn't even a job. People just volunteered to do it. It was a very male-dominated industry. At my age, many of the industries were previously. It was just, the way of our world. There were mostly men in business. So in 2002, I had run some marathons. I had been on our board since the very beginning. I knew how to sell and some experience with promotion and marketing. So I thought I was preeminently qualified to do this job. Was pretty happy about getting the nod. And maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks into it, realized there was so much I didn't know. And I bring that up to say that, again, it wasn't a career you aspired to, that you could train for in those days. So I just started reaching out to other people in the industry. And again, mostly men, but they were so willing to mentor you, to help train you, to share best practices and bring you up to speed. So probably a long-winded way of saying to anybody who has an inkling toward or an aspiration toward either of those careers, fortunately nowadays, they're both recognized professions. There are training programs and college courses. Both UC and Xavier have sports marketing departments, which can be a great foundation and groundwork for what we do. Nothing really gives you as much experience as hands-on, but I think now that the opportunity to view this as a career is much better, much more structured and organized than when I started. So in general terms, I would say to anybody starting their career, if you can be true to yourself and identify what is your passion and go at it with the willingness to do whatever is required, I'm big on be a little humble about it. Recognize that you're not going to know, even if you graduated with a 4.8, no matter what, you're not going to know everything that is required. Ask advice, seek out mentors, and go after what you want with a passion. I don't think there's anything unique or earth-shattering in that advice, but I do. It's tried and true. That's the way to get where you need to be.
No, that is perfect. That answers everything. And especially we love hearing your background of how you got to where you are today, especially because it wasn't the first thing you decided. It was the second or third or fourth, it even your passions can come along a long way. Thank you for that.
Emma, if the only other thing I would add is keep an open mind. Life gives us some detours, even if we think we know where we're going. So just, keep an open mind, but stay determined.
Absolutely. So with that, now focusing on the Flying Pig career, what does a typical day look like for you? And, we can go pre-COVID, in COVID, what does post-COVID look like? But overall, what does your day-to-day look like?
Not typical. Any day, they're all different. There's so many aspects of what we do. And I referenced that, at our peak, we were at like 43,000 people. We do a whole lineup of events. We have become a running festival. Our first event is a 1 mile on Friday night. We have the 5K, the 10K, a youth program. It's about 6,000 children participate in our incremental program. We work with them months ahead of the pig. They do their miles incrementally, the months leading up to the pig, and then they get to do their 26-mile and finish under the same finish as the marathoners. So that program is an example of how far in advance we work. I mentioned the Saturday lineup. We also have Pig Abilities, which is a division for people with special needs. Then we have the Flying Fur. Everybody wanted to run with their dog, and we didn't feel it was safe in the marathon. So we created a 2-mile event called the Flying Fur. It's very popular. That whole lineup of events takes place on Saturday, and then Sunday we host the full, the half, and a 4-person relay. Add to that a 2-day expo that opens on Friday, all day Saturday. We're the largest event at the convention center. I'm sorry, I'm moving myself around. At the convention center, and so preparing for that, selling booth space, putting on an expo. And it's a health and fitness expo, so there's a lot of demonstrations and a lot of components. then we do, oh my goodness, a party after all of our races. A post-race party is a must. Most people, lots of people like to run for beer, so we always provide that. And then Saturday night, we do the traditional pasta party. So it is truly a weekend of events. Each has its own, obviously, its own details and need for pre-planning. So when I first started this job, most of my friends and relatives said, is that a full-time job, a year-round job? It was that then, but now the pig has met with so much success in our market. It's, I think I can say that it's become an icon in the marketplace. So with that success, it was always about celebrating our community. The flying pig, you know, our heritage is tied into that. Cincinnati used to be Porkopolis. You probably know all the details about that. So we decided that we could do some more events throughout the year. So we started a beer series. Cincinnati also has a very rich and long-standing brewing heritage. So again, we could stay true to our mission. We raise money for charities, we celebrate our community, and we try to put on a premier event whenever we do. So the beer series fell right into that category. And so it celebrates our brewing history. We raise money for the Heritage Brewing Trail, and we do that Bachfest in late February. We do the 50 West Mile now, which is the Friday night event that kicks off Flying Pig Weekend. And with Oktoberfest, we do the Hootie 14K. We also noticed that as our event was growing, women were choosing the half in huge numbers. 70% of the Flying Pig Half Marathon is female. So in the fall, we started a women's only, well, we allow men, we just really celebrate the women. And so the Queen Bee Half fills that bill. We do a 4 mile in conjunction with that. So that became our lineup of events. A year ago, we added the FCC3. You know, soccer is so fun and so exciting, and running's an integral part of soccer. So it was a great partnership. So, you know, we decided that we've got all these events. We need a parent name, a parent company name. So in the late 2019, we established PigWorks. It's the umbrella organization for all of the year-round events I just mentioned. I got, in essence, a promotion. I'm now a CEO of PigWorks, but it's really just oversight of all the events we do, and the privilege of working with a very, very good team, a great group of people who take such pride in putting on good events. So it's really been a labor of love. It has been a very rewarding career. The charities we work with, we raise over $1 million a year for local charities. And, you know, to learn a little about their causes, and there's so many wonderful endeavors and causes out there, that it's just very gratifying. Our city has been so accepting, and it has embraced us on every level. Probably being a native, I love getting to showcase my hometown to, you know, people from all 50 states, thousands of people from all over the country. And then last year we had 22 foreign countries represented. So, you know, again, I get to genuinely celebrate and showcase my hometown. And certainly we consider our organization one of the city's, I guess, jewels in its crown. Don't mean to be presumptuous about that, but others tell us, so I'll repeat it. And so I guess for me, you know, it's just been an extremely rewarding experience. I love getting to do what I do. And prior to COVID, we grew every year. We have been very, very fortunate in that we enjoy a great national reputation, in addition to, as I said, being a city icon. Now, who knows? We did the Bachfest event in late February, and then, as we all know, everything, our very world changed, had to postpone the May event. When we postponed that in March, we felt in good faith that we could put on the event in October. Surely everything would have subsided by then. But here we are sitting in the beginning of June, and we're not 100% certain we can even put on a mass event in person. We're hoping for a decision from, our state government, the powers that be soon, because again, we have to plan so far in advance. There's so many details to address. I don't want to sit here and try to present to it's not brain surgery, but there are thousands and thousands of details and things that have to be resolved months in advance. So we're a little nervous about October now, committed to a virtual no matter what, but we certainly remain hopeful that we can put on an in-person event that has some semblance of the fun, exciting experience and celebratory atmosphere that we normally have. If we can do this year, I think people will be so eager for celebration that it'll be very well received.
I know I'm one of those people, so we definitely.
Thank you, Emma.
Oh yeah, I'm all about all the races. I do most all of them. So for us, me being just involved locally too, I can definitely attest to that. So to circle back, and you kind of touched on it, but I just want to nail it down, is what is your favorite part of your job? And I know that's probably so hard because there's so many things, and you're talking about showcasing, but like, what is your favorite?
Well, you ask what is a typical day, and I think part of what I like is that it is so varied. There really aren't many typical days. I'm either working with charities, and that is very near and dear to my heart. I mean, there are just so many wonderful people doing the real work, the things that make a difference in our community. We get to interact with them, so I like that a lot. Sales is in my blood. I acknowledged it was not the career to which I aspired, but been doing it now for all these many years, and frankly, I just love it. I feel that I'm bringing something to a company that if we do it together, it can be a great partnership and rewarding for both. So I guess drilling down to what's the favorite part. I like what I do. Standing at the finish line, by then all the hard work's come to fruition. In some little way, you got to do something that helps those people achieve a personal goal. Every year I stand at the finish line until the very last person crosses, and just getting to celebrate their personal achievement. Often they come across, they're crying. I don't know if they're crying, if they're tears of joy or they're in pain, but I'll find myself tearing up, and the total strangers are hugging and you're congratulating. So, and it's also, your work it's not done. There's always a lot of cleanup and all those things that aren't very glamorous, but that's probably the culmination of each event, standing at the finish line, jumping up and down, celebrating with them, and in some way, feeling that, gee, you got to be a part of things that bring them such a sense of joy and fulfillment and purpose. Boy, I sound like it's just a run, but it's all those things wrapped up into a run.
So much more than just a run. I definitely agree with that. I love that. And another question, and this is, I like asking this question, but I am curious, especially with kind of an event organization as PigWorks is what does the future look like for PigWorks, and what do you think it'll be like in 5 years?
Well, I think I'm optimistic by nature, very hopeful that running and that our lives, regardless of what we do, that our lives will come back to some semblance of normal. I think there are going to be changes, of course. In the running industry, a trend that we have noticed is millennials, the younger generation seems to like shorter distances. They're not as enamored of, crossing that marathon off their bucket list as perhaps the generation from which I came. So we have noticed a plateau, not in running, but in the distance running. So I would say that for us, and again, my crystal ball gets awfully cloudy, especially under the circumstances that we're all facing today. But I think that running is alive and well. I think a lot of people have turned to it during this time because it's the only thing they could do. Getting out of the house and going for a run. People who had been running you do all of our events. It can be so therapeutic, so rewarding. Much of our lives right now, and I don't mean to sound all philosophical, but things are out of our control. None of us, even people of my age, have never faced anything like this. So going out, going for a run, maybe setting a goal, I'm going to do a 5K, even if I have to do it, it's my own 5K by myself, gives you a sense of some control. So I think that during all of this, some people may have discovered running who really weren't into it before. Hopefully they've made it a habit. Hopefully it's helped with their fitness. And hopefully it has been that therapeutic endeavor that I referenced before. So I think that running will continue to grow. I don't know if it'll be a slight uptick. For our organization, the charitable aspect, we just have to be candid about it. There'll always be need. There are organizations who need our help. So I think that will come back. I'd like to think that through this COVID experience, and I was thinking this, there has been a heightened awareness of kindness, of not being able to take things for granted anymore, a recognition of how blessed and fortunate we are as a society, even, as a community, all the things that we have available to us that were whoosh, just taken away. And so I don't mean to get off track. I do think PigWorks will benefit from the fact that we bring people together with a common purpose, whether it's a personal goal they're trying to achieve, raise money for a cause that's near and dear to their heart. I just think a recognition of the importance of community, keeping ourselves healthy. Oh my gosh, so many lives have been lost to this, and I realize it's a disease, but I think it's made people more aware of the value, the importance of their own health and that of those around them. So call me a dreamer, but I think with just those things, our events should be healthy, should be growing back to the levels that maybe they were before. We might even be adding more. We're already talking about some other things that might be a good addition and true to the mission. So I think PigWorks will be alive and well. We're struggling like everyone. I mean, we're a not-for-profit. People don't donate to us. They donate to our charity partners, and the monies we raise, that profit all goes to, in fact, maybe we were a little too generous, if you don't mind my saying. We were fiscally responsible. We put money away for a rainy day, but not many companies or not many of us were looking for this many rainy days. So admittedly, it's a financial struggle right now, but I get to work with a very dedicated board of directors and a staff who we're going to do whatever it takes to keep this organization healthy, alive, and well, so it can grow to be whatever the community, the market wants us to be.
I love that, because it's definitely one of my favorite parts of the year. So great.
Good.
So to go for more, specific, and then I'll ask one final fun question in a few minutes here. How many people work on making the Flying Pig happen each year? I'm sure it's thousands.
Well, it is, but we were a staff of 3 for many years. We've now ballooned to a staff of 9 for all of our events. There are 9 full-time people. We have another 4 contractors. I'll call them contractors who are more seasonal. Typically, we recruit, and they're very valuable to us, interns. For the pig, we usually have 12, probably a dozen interns. We keep a few on year round. We beef it up or pork it up, whatever's appropriate for the queen bee, up to maybe 4 or 5 interns. So interns are extremely important to us. And then the thousands come from our volunteers. We affectionately refer to them as our grunts. The queen bee has worker bees, but for the pig alone, it's over 8,000 people who volunteer. Wow. Hundreds, if not thousands, who come back year after year. We have what was a unique model when we started, in that if your organization, if you have a not-for-profit organization, and it can be a PTO group, a Boy Scout, Girl Scout group, we really welcome and embrace a lot, it's a wide range of not-for-profits. But if you bring volunteers, then we write a stipend to your organization. So we do that, and it amazes me. That's probably the scariest part. It used to be. I don't take it for granted, but I've become a little more comfortable with it. I used to literally feel my knees shaking on race morning, thinking, "Oh my God, are all these people going to show up? Why would they show up? It's 4:30 in the morning. It's chilly. It's why would they come?" And they do. They come, and year after year, they hold their positions. People always ask us, "Oh, can I sponsor, or can I be a part of a fluid station?" Not unless they give it up, and they never give them up. So that's how we get to thousands, the thousands that it takes to pull off this event. But wow, that is just, again, another very, very gratifying part of what we do.
Oh, I'm sure. That's crazy. I love hearing those stats. And then my last flying pig question, before my fun one, is what makes the flying pig such a phenomenon outside of Cincinnati? I understand that it's so big in the city because we see it all year round. How do you guys, get all these people from other states, let alone other countries?
Well, I think like a lot of things, it was timing initially. When we came on the scene in 1999, there, of course, was Boston, Chicago, New York, all the big, serious marathons that were highly competitive. They paid big purses. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Did I?
Yeah, your video just went away.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Emma. There, I'm back. I apologize. So in 1999, well, actually it started a few years sooner, but we decided we were going to try to be something different. We knew Cincinnati, as much as we love it as our hometown, isn't necessarily a destination city. So we felt we had to do some things differently. I referenced the model we came up with for recruiting volunteers. The mission, as I said, was always to raise money for charities, to celebrate our community, but to put on a premier event, and one for athletes of all abilities. Well, that wasn't happening. It was the only other thematic marathon around at that time was Disney, and everything Disney does is thematic. So, that was just expected of them. So it was a bit of a risk. Even calling ourselves the Flying Pig was a bit risky because it's a serious undertaking. The people in Cincinnati might get the pig reference, but would people in other cities come to spend money to come to something that sounded a little frivolous? So there was an inherent risk. As it's turned out, it's been a wonderful brand. The name really worked very much to our advantage. So as far as our debut, part of it was timing. It was just, we were different, unique. And then beyond that, our very first year, Runner's World, which in those days was the Bible of running, said that we were the textbook case on how to put on a marathon. So they gave us rave reviews. And from that, I just really believe it was putting on a serious, well-run event that had a lot of fun attached to it. It made running more fun. We call it planned spontaneity, but in a given year, we have about 165 different fun zones out there on the course that we've planned. You've done it, so the fluid stations, and then the crazy things like the hog wash station and the greased pig station and all the other things we do. Yeah. Then there is the community. And there are so many parties, so many things going on that beer lounges. We're not allowed to do that. We can't give out beer on the course. But it just seemed like the community was all about it. They created the party, the support on the course. And, you know, we were fortunate. We were getting some people from other cities, other states to come, and they carried the word home that, oh my gosh, you've got to do the pig. They've got this unique, quirky race in Cincinnati. You've got to do the pig. There have been stories through the years from board members who run in races all over the country, and actually even in across the world. One board member in Alaska was doing the seven marathons on 7 continents in 7 months.
Oh my God.
And he gets off the plane, goes to his hotel, he gets his running gear on, shows up for the start, and the guy in front of him is walking to the start with a flying pig backpack on. Another story was from the Dublin Marathon. One of our board members was running, and he sees this guy next, and he claims to have had on no flying pig gear, but the guy next to him has on his 50 state shirt. And so they struck up a conversation. So how many states have you done? Oh, I'm only on 40 something. Do you have a favorite? And the guy said, you're not going to believe it, but there's this race in Cincinnati, Ohio called the Flying Pig. And it was one of our board members. So lots of stories, but that always it's anecdotal, but that always made me feel that nothing is better than word of mouth referrals. So I think that's been a big key to our success. The first year we were on the verge of having all 50 states. We were at 49, and of all places, North Dakota was not represented. So we reached out. I will be honest. We reached out and said, would anybody in North Dakota like to come and run the pig? This was a week before. Some guy in college, we were going to put him up in a hotel room, pay for him to come. And a guy, I forget the name of the college, I don't remember, but he signed up, came, ran, and said, oh my God, I'll tell everybody at home how great this is. So I think word of mouth. Obviously we promote, obviously we spend money on advertising, but in my view, especially for the events of our nature, if somebody refers you and gives you rave reviews, that's the best.
That is so true. Well, about all the flying pigs, thank you so much. I'm excited. I hope all of you watching this are getting excited for hopefully the events happening in October. And to cap off, just one fun question that we wanted to ask all of our interviewees is, describe your perfect date night in Cincinnati.
My perfect date night.
Sky's the limit. What is it?
Okay. I'm gonna construct it while we're speaking. My perfect date night would be dinner at Pep and Dolores and a concert at Memorial Hall.
You did that quickly.
Have you been? I just say, I mean, okay, and so I'm an old fogey, so I wouldn't go clubbing or anything. Although I have to admit, though, Ghost Baby's pretty cool too. Maybe, a nightcap at Ghost Baby. That's a perfect date night.
There it is, and Pep and Dolores is delicious, and
love it.
That was awesome. But to wrap up, thank you so much for speaking with us with our sync committee today. And I hope if you're watching this, you all are inspired to now run a marathon, especially on October 11th, I think the day is. I really think you can do it. So,
and you can do any distance. Join us for any of the distances.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.